I just need to create a CSV, so I'll just copy paste this into an Excel.
Okay. Does it make sense for some of the employees not to have a RIC ID?
This is different. I mean, let me check that. So this is the main employee ID. I think this
Okay.
is something else.
Okay. So that is something that we would have confirmed with the data
Business.
team.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so I'll just save this sheet. So whenever we are loading something into Anaplan, we basically load it into CSV format. Okay. So similarly here also, I will call it as employee masters. Okay.
Okay.
So this is the employee masters. Same file you will find in the master sheet. Okay. And here what we need to analyze is what type of data it is, right? So you can see we have multiple columns. It says position, worker type, right? If I
Mm-hmm.
do filter on it, you can check what all member
HR.
it has. So it has NCR employee and contractor 1 and 2. Okay.
Okay.
Then you also have a valid question that rec ID is blank. So there is some business reason for it. Okay. It could be that yeah, whatever is the reason, that is a right question on your end, which you have to check with the business, right? In our example, quick look ID is the employee ID. This is the
Mm-hmm.
unique key for each employee. This is the employee preferred name. This is the employee department, right?
Mm-hmm.
And employee, whether it is filled or open. Okay. Then the employee grade, then the position number, manager ID,
Okay.
hire date, right? So
Mm-hmm.
IP country, and then whether employee is salaried or hourly basis or California person. I think California is, let's see how many people we have. Let me remove blanks. Oh, it's okay. I think it's some formatting issue. Okay, never mind. Let's country code, country cost by GDP. I think low and high. Salary of the employee, payment schedule, whether it is monthly, mostly monthly for
Did
all the
we
employees.
change the salary format line item or column?
Format, what do you want to
Yeah.
change it to?
Would that be a number format like or to show the currency, like the dollar sign, or is that already
In file, it is fine. In Anaplan, we need to define the format.
okay?
So we'll do that. So yeah, basically, this is how you need to review each and every column, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you need to ask, if you don't know what's a union, what's the job category, right? That is the type of questions you need to ask in order to understand the data set. Okay. So I will go. So now we know that, okay, in this data set, quick look ID is something that is unique. Okay. So we
Mm-hmm.
will be loading our data based on quick look ID. This becomes the code, and preferred name will become the employee display name.
Display name.
Okay. So we know this part, right? We will be asking questions with the business in order to understand each and every column. Now we are good to load it into Anaplan. Okay. So what we do is, I'll go and log in into Anaplan, and we will create our data hub model, or maybe we'll directly load it into our vector model. Or no, let's do it. We create another model called data hub. First, we will load this data into data hub, and then from
Mm-hmm.
data hub, we will load it into spoke model. Okay. So
Okay.
I'll create another model called data hub dev underscore vector. And here I will create a list called employee masters. Okay.
Okay.
And in this list, and then I'll be creating a corresponding module. In the module, I will call it as employee masters data. Okay. I will
Mm-hmm.
remove the time dimension, and I will need all these columns as the line item. So I'll do control shift right arrow to select all the columns. I'll do control C. Okay. And then I'll go towards the end,
Are
and
you what kind of device are you using? Like a Apple versus
I'm using Windows.
Windows? Okay, got it.
So then I need this is Google Sheets, so
Mm-hmm.
that is why it's pretty a bit different than Excel. So
Okay.
here I'll be using paste special and transposed, so that all the columns will be transposed into rows, so that I can quickly copy them. I'll copy all of them and paste it over here in the line item, so I don't have to write it manually. Everything comes at once. Okay.
Okay. Can you go back really quick? Yeah. So and scroll back to the left. Okay. So that was basically copying the titles for each of the columns, and then you pasted it with transpose. So then it's because I don't see is union name and union ID included in there
What's not included?
in the line items.
We
Yeah,
have
it's
rec
there.
ID.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. So yeah. So basically, in order to analyze the data, these are some of the shortcuts that we should be familiarized with, right? Some of the
Mm-hmm.
basic Excel functions like VLOOKUP, left, right, mid, all the basic transformation functions, and VLOOKUP is the one, and what else? Transpose, sorry, pivoting the data in Excel, right?
Mm-hmm.
All these basics of Excel you should be aware of. This is a complementary skills you need with Anaplan, because most of your data sets will be, I mean, all the data sets will be in Excel only, right? So you should you should know how to write these functions in the Anaplan, in the Excel,
Mm-hmm.
so that you can quickly validate the data.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Right.
So I'll create the module. So currently you see the names are not coming properly. So I'll go to format, column setting. You see wrap text in header. So currently there is no wrapping. I'll make it 3 lines. So what happens is the headers will be wrapped into 3 lines. Okay. So we can clearly read the line item names. Just a formatting thing in the backend. Okay. I
Mm-hmm.
always like to do this so that everything is very much readable, and I feel comfortable with that. So you can also make a habit of doing some things like this. Okay.
Okay.
And then I'll make the line item formats as text, and then I will review each and line item. So most of these
Mm-hmm.
line items has to be text except hire date, which has to be in the date format. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And salary, which has to be in the number format. And in the number format, we can specify how many decimals. Let's let's say two decimals.
Mm-hmm.
Currency, let's say USD. Okay. So if you see the salary line item, once we load the data, you will see the formatting. Okay. Rest
Okay.
everything will remain as is. So now we will go into loading the data. The structure of the list and the module is ready. Okay. Now I'll just save it as the default view so that this formatting which I have done is saved as the default setting. Even if I
Mm-hmm.
close the module and open it, it will again open with the same formatting. Okay.
Okay.
Now I will go into the list and I will load the data. And that's it. I'll click on next. So in the list, if you remember, we should only have preferred name and the code, which is quick look ID, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be loading it based on the code. So I'll
Mm-hmm.
run the action and the items are created exactly 875 employees. Okay.
Okay.
Then I'll go to the module and you can see the items created, and you see the salary line item is being formatted as dollars and
Mm-hmm.
0.00. If I change it to, let's say, symbol, so instead of USD, it will be a symbol, dollar symbol, which looks cleaner, right? So we'll
Yeah.
go with that and I will load the data, same CSV file. And this thing I'll map with quick look ID. Okay. And column headers will automatically be mapped because it has same name. One thing which you always need to make sure that all the date formatted line items, you need to define a format. So over here, this is 6/5/2017. Obviously,
Mm-hmm.
this is year. I need to identify which one is month. So this cannot be month. So the second thing is date. First thing is month. So M, Y, and D. So I'll be selecting this for all the formats. And that's it. I'll run the import.
Is that something you have to do every time or just once?
Has to only, you need to do it once. And
Okay.
then from the next time, it will pick the same format.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you can see data loaded successfully. For some of these rows, I think my data set gets corrupted. It is showing hash hash hash, right? So we'll
Yeah.
ignore that. It's because of my copy pasting and some things. These things are messed up. So ignore this for now. But usually this won't happen. Okay, you will get some data instead these hash hash. So the data will be loaded correctly for those employees. For now, it is blank, so we'll ignore that. And we can see all the data has been loaded successfully in the module. Okay. This quick look ID line item, we can put a formula as code of item of the list which is being applied in the module, which is employee master, because employee master code is quick look ID, right? Nothing else. I think I missed an S. So you can see quick look ID is automatically populated. And this is a very common formula in Anaplan, right? Code of item of list. So
Mm-hmm.
here is the whole data imported into Anaplan and everything is being formatted correctly. So that's it. This is the first place where we will be importing the data. So the actions that we have created, two import actions we have created, right? So the first one is loading data into the list. So I will call it as build employee masters. Okay. The second one I will call it as import employee masters data. Okay.
Okay.
So our setup is complete till data hub. Just a second. Okay. Okay. So now we have to create a process to club these two actions. So I will call it as employee master load process. Okay. And this one I will have both the import action, loading data into the list and importing data into the module. This I need to call it as list. So it's clearly evident that I'm building the list here, and here I'm importing the data. And both the things are happening in the same process. So the next time I just need to run this process, and both things will happen simultaneously. Okay. So
Got it.
this process now we will publish to dashboards so that user comes in, run the process, upload the CSV file, and at the one go, employees will be created in the list and it is getting imported into the module as well. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So on the same lines, we need to now load the same data into Spoke model. What is the Spoke model? Where we actually do reporting and build functionalities. What is Data Hub? It's a central repository to load all the data sets. Data hubs will not be exposed to end users. It will only be exposed to data stewards. Who are data stewards? These are the people who are responsible to maintain the data. Okay.
Yep.
So
Makes sense.
only selective people will have access to Data Hub who will be maintaining this data. Rest everything, all the functionalities we build in the spokes model itself, right? So what I'll do is the model that we have, Victor model, I will rename it as, so we can go to manage models and we can do this rename, and I'll call it as April spoke dev model dev underscore Victor. Okay. So that it is clearly evident what we are doing here. Usually we do not write name in the spoke. I mean, we do not call a model a spoke model. It's just a term to call that model. The model name will be finance dev, sales dev, TQM dev, right?
Hmm.
But
Yes.
since we are not following a use case, so I'll just call it a spoke model. Okay. So I'll close it. And if you see the modules, okay, we have already created some modules. Okay. So now the target is to load data from data up to the spoke model. Are you already familiar with that? I mean, just creating the saved view here and creating actions and loading the data into the list and the module. Are you familiar with that?
Yes. Yeah, but I would want to, just to refresh, go over it again.
Or if you want, you can practice it on your own.
Yeah, so I can do that. Yeah. So basically,
Yeah.
importing the
Because,
data from the data
yeah,
up to the spoke model, I can do that. Yep.
yep. There are a few tricky things which I want to discuss. I know these things you might already know, right? So I'll leave this one for you.
Okay.
Try it out in the spoke model. Uh, I'll move on to the more important example which you should be knowing about. Okay.
Okay.
So
Sounds good.
whenever we create an import action, I'll just create a dummy import module. Okay. And let's say source line item and target line item. I'll remove it. I'll have the employee. Okay. I'll have the department. I'll change the formatting. So here 3 looks too much, so I'll just make it 2 lines. Now this
Mm-hmm.
looks fine and I'll save it. So let's say these are two number formatted line items. Whatever is here, I want to import it into the target. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll create an import action. I'll create import view one. Okay. And I'll be creating the action and loading data from source line item to the target line item, right? Very simple, nothing complex over here. Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Similarly, I mean, I'll create the action and I'll call it as import setting one. Okay. Similarly, I will create another saved view. I'll call it as import saved view. Okay. And I will again create an action. Okay. Let me rename it as import view 2. Okay.
Are
I'll
these
again, yeah.
are the, both save views have the same view though? Shouldn't one show the source line item and then the other show the
No,
other?
no, I wanted to do exact same thing. I'll just
Okay.
change a setting in one action so that I can show you what happens if I change that setting. So that is
Okay.
why I've created two different saved views so that I'll be able to create two different actions. Okay. So I'll publish these actions to our dashboard. We'll call it as import action analysis. So these two actions are published.
Mm-hmm.
I'll do some custom width 150, 150, place it here. I'll publish the whole module. Okay, that is it. Okay, so now the main thing, I've created the setup. Now the question is why I have created this setup. Okay, so let's say I have some dummy values 10, 20, 30, 40. Okay, if I have to import it from here to here, I will run any of the action and both the action will do same thing, correct? Okay. Okay, I need to update the mapping. I think currently source is mapped with source line item. So I need to change this to source will import into target line item. Okay.
Yep.
I
Okay.
missed to change that. And here also source line item should be imported to target line item. Okay.
Okay.
So if we run any of the action, it will do the job importing data from source to target. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now the difference which I wanted to show is in the first setting, I will keep this option as true, which is the default option, clear target prior to import. And in the
Okay.
second setting, I will make the second option true, update only imported cells. Okay,
Okay.
so we can write some notes here, or maybe I'll have it here. Clear target
Before
prior
import.
import,
Mm-hmm.
and this one is only import
Import updated cells.
updated cells. Okay. So now the difference here is whenever I run this action, and let's say one example where for EMEA we have 0 in the source, but we have
Mm-hmm.
40 in the target, right? So in this
Mm-hmm.
example, what happens is if I run the first action, okay, since the name of this action is clear target prior
Wire.
import, right? So it will
Mm-hmm.
clear all of these values and it
Oh.
will import these three values. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so ideally this will become 0. Okay,
Okay.
if I run this action, since we are not updating, we are not clearing anything, it will only update these three values over here and it will keep this as 40. It will not make it 0. Okay, so if
Mm-hmm.
let's say this I'm changing to 5, this I'm changing to 15, and this I'm changing to 25, right? So if I run this action, these first three cells will be updated to 5, 15, and 25. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, wait. I the fourth cell getting changed, or have I run the wrong action? Okay, I didn't notice, so let me make it 40 again, and let me
Okay,
try
you
to,
ran action
yeah,
two. Let's see.
okay, action 2.
Or import two, yeah.
Okay, if I run this also,
What if do you have to check the import setting on that if whether we did select to only update the cells?
no, this one we have changed already, so why is it
Yeah,
clearing it?
we update imported cells.
It should not clear it in this case. Okay, weird. What are we missing here? Or is it something with the view? I don't
Mm,
know.
So maybe it could be the view because I think import one and import two, the saved view is for the source item. So it's
Okay, one more thing I
because
might need to.
import two should be the target line item uh saved view. I don't know if that changes anything.
No, no, it has to be source only. Source line item we need to map into target.
Correct. But for the saved view of import two,
Import 2 will also have source line item. So that's not an issue, but
okay.
it could be maybe because of number formatted. Let me check that. Maybe number formatted it doesn't work. I don't know. Let me check that once. So let's say here we have 1, 2, 3, and here we have XYZ. So this will be changed to 1, 2, 3. Okay.
Mm,
This I'll keep blank, and this I'll keep, let's say, XYZ. Okay. So if I run this, this will be clear. This will be updated to 1, 2, 3, and this will
and
remain XYZ.
mm, yeah.
Okay. So if I run this, only one updated, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this has changed, and this is
Mm-hmm.
retained. So this is
Mm-hmm.
only with the case of text formatted line item. That thing does not work with number format.
Okay.
Okay. If I do the same thing, if I run this import one, so the second line will also be cleared because it is
Mm-hmm.
clearing everything and loading it, right? So this
Yeah.
is only with the case of text formatted line item. Number formatted line item always getting cleared somehow. I don't know the reason, but it is getting cleared.
Mm.
Okay. So
Okay.
that is the thing. So why we go with this import two is sometimes we want to retain the data. We never wanted to clear the data even if it is not coming
Is
from
there
source.
an issue? Is there an issue where for clearing the data, like the number, you can't use that option for
You will use it very rarely. The setting two is very rarely you would likely to do that. Most of the time you only, I mean, every time you want to clear
clear
and
the
load the
data.
data. Yes, yes. So
Okay.
mostly you will most of the time go with the default option, but you should know what is the other option. And sometimes
Mm-hmm.
people ask this in interview, although it's not a favorite question, but sometimes people prefer to ask it. Like I personally ask this question because it has to do with someone going into I mean, knowing the import action in and out, right? So not everyone knows it. So people can ask this question. So you should know why we have these two options. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So one last thing that are left to be discussed is the daisy chaining. Okay. So whenever we are referencing the data, so let's say module A has a line item called salary. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm calculating the prorated salary, let's say. So it's doesn't matter even if it is an input line item. We have salary information in module A, right? Then I need the same information in module B, module C, and module D, right? So what we have done is there are two model builders, model builder 1 and model builder 2. Okay, model builder 1, what that person have done is that person have written the formula in module B. That person have written the formula module A dot salary. Okay, fetching the salary data from module A. The same person have written the formula in the module C. That person have written the formula module B dot salary. Okay, and then in the module D, that person have written the formula module C dot salary. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
basically the same information going from module A to module B, module B to module C, module C to module D. Correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
But the second model builder, that person have written just single formula module A dot salary, module A dot salary, and module A dot salary. Right. So as per
Mm-hmm.
Anaplan best practices, Anaplan recommend this approach, and Anaplan does not recommend this approach. This is called daisy chaining, that you are increasing the dependency. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
it's like that if salary is incorrect in module D, then you need to verify module C, you need to verify module B, and you need to verify module A. So you are increasing the dependency of salary calculation.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in the second case, if there is a problem with module D, you just directly need to go to module A and you need to see what's going wrong there. Correct? So that
Correct.
is why using this approach, wherein you are not dependent on another module, which is dependent on another module, just establish the relation directly. Have one single source of truth and refer the data into multiple modules from there. Okay,
Okay.
because it will not always be a direct reference. There could be a if else statement here, there could be
Mm-hmm.
another if else statement here, right, which can
Yes.
change the value. So you will end up getting incorrect salary in the module D, and you will ultimately spend a lot of time in validating which module has incorrect salary, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that is why never go with this approach, always go with the second approach. Okay,
Okay.
so
Makes
this
sense.
is one best practice. Avoid daisy chaining. Okay, so in interviews, someone asks what are the best practices you follow. So make sure this is one of your point that you mentioned, that avoid daisy chaining. Then the other person will ask what is daisy chaining. Then you can give this example, right? That
Mm-hmm.
directly refer the salary from the s- main module rather than increasing dependencies from module A to module B to module C, and module C to module D. So that way you can give a simple answer and you can tell in the best practices of Anaplan. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, Victor. So we have covered the topics for today. Okay.
Thank you.
Any questions you have before we wrap up?
No, I think that all made sense. So no questions so far. Um, I will review, and will you send an updated Like the notes, will this be updated in the